Secretary of Defense was unqualified to begin with, and now he's actually proven himself. This is a mistake that under any other administration would have already made the Secretary of Defense resign. The fact that they're trying, again, treat this a cavalier attitude, what does it say to our allies? What does it say to our enemies? Now, the Houthis don't necessarily have a very good signal intelligence capabilities or capabilities to hack and track our phones, but they do have allies. They are allied with Iran. They are sometimes allied with other malign actors. They may be able to do that. And the fact that now everyone knows that some of our most key national security advisors are all talking on Signal should really scare us. And the fact that this is happening and you have an utter lack of leadership coming from this administration, from Secretary of Defense, is absolutely offensive.
Donald Trump's presidency is unraveling. He's caused significant damage to the economy with a trade war that he's uncertain about continuing, all while people take to the streets to protest him and his historically low approval ratings. Just yesterday, his entire administration came dangerously close to being implicated in a criminal scandal involving leaked military information. It couldn't get worse for Trump, except it might, as even his usual Fox News allies are starting to turn against him. But before we dive into the Fox host who recently called out Trump, let's first take a look at the brutal takedown delivered by Pete Buttigieg.
Keep me safe.
Do you think someone should be fired over this?
Absolutely. I mean, if I made a mistake like this as a lieutenant, I would be probably not just fired, but probably indicted and tried and maybe in prison. And the idea that, you remember, these guys love talking about merit, right? We hear a lot about this alleged principle that they're hiring people on merit. I think, there's some questions there. I mean, our current Secretary of Defense hadn't shown a lot of evidence of, running a large organization, or let alone running a large organization well. And he got put in charge of the largest organization in the United States of America and the most important organization in the world, which is the U.S. Department of Defense. And if there's not accountability for a screw up like this, especially from a president who used to fire people every day on television for sport, what are we even doing here?
Pete Buttigieg, thank you for...
Someone needs to be held accountable. And I'll say it, a crime has been committed, and those responsible should face consequences. It would be refreshing to see Donald Trump actually face legal accountability for his numerous attempts and successes in breaking the law for his own benefit. It's time for accountability. If the roles were reversed, if this were a Democrat, say Hillary Clinton, Republicans like Donald Trump would be demanding jail time. Especially when Trump and Pete Hegseth continue to spread lies about the events of the past few days, including their involvement in leaking sensitive information. Pete Hegseth was even confronted about this by the journalist who exposed the story, as seen in this clip.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
I don't expect you're going to respond to every aspect of that, but nobody was texting war plans. Again, you have extensive reporting. Anybody can read it. What is your reaction to that?
Look, I'm going to be responsible here and not disclose the things that I read and saw. I will describe them to you. The specific time of a future attack, specific targets, including human targets, meant to be killed in that attack, weapons systems, even weather reports, or, that the government is I don't know why Hegseth was sharing it with everybody. I mean, the precise detail, and then a long section on sequencing. This is going to happen, then that is going to happen. After that happens, this happens, then that happens. And then we go and find out if it worked. I mean, he can say that it wasn't a war plan, but it was a minute by minute accounting of what was about to happen, organized by CENTCOM, Central Command, which is the military oversight group of the Middle East, the broader Middle East. This is their plan, and he was taking their plan and sharing it with a bunch of civilian leaders. It's interesting because as I'm reading it at 11:44 a.m. on Saturday morning, the 15th, seeing that the Houthis are not going to know about this for another couple of hours.
And you know about it.
Well, and I know about it, and I'm thinking,
Hegseth actions on their own are just unbelievably dumb and dangerous and show how deranged and unqualified he is, but his attempt to cover it up by lying and trying to smear him is a step so far that not even Fox could defend HEGP in Trump. As we can see from one of Pete's old colleagues in this article right here, Fox's Brit Hume on Hegseth's response to war plans. Text, "Oh, for God's sakes." Fox News political commentator Brit Hume on Monday afternoon pushed back on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's claim that nobody was texting war plans after news broke that Hegseth and other Trump administration officials discussed plans through an attack against Houthi rebels in Yemen on a text chain that mistakenly included the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that, Hegseth said outside a plane in Hawaii when asked about editor-in-chief of The Atlantic Jeffrey Goldberg's access to the chat. Hegseth also called Goldberg a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again. Brit Hume, the Fox host, responded to a video of Hegseth's comments on the platform Twitter saying, "Oh, for God's sake, the administration has already confirmed the authenticity of the message." Donald Trump's own Secretary of Defense being called out by his former colleague and Donald Trump's propagandist. We have reached some pretty shocking territory when Fox is willing to say the truth. I know. That's some pretty blatant truth, but it is truth nonetheless, which we never hear from Fox. But this seems like a turning point in the administration, and sure, there have been plenty of those, but the implications here are incredibly, incredibly scary. And it also reveals one of the main talking points that Donald Trump likes to return to a conversation about merit and DEI and who should be in charge, because it is clearly not these people. It is clearly not DUI, Pete Hegseth. It is clearly not Tulsi Gabbard or conspiracy theorist RFK Jr. Mike Waltz. I don't even know what his qualifications are. He's just a stooge. These people have no place in the most important positions in our government. They are actively putting you and your family in harm's way. And all for what? Something that we continued to hear on the campaign trail was, oh, there's a lot of craziness in Donald Trump's administration. I don't like what he says or what he does, or he's a little erratic. But the economy was good under him. First of all, a lie. It was Barack Obama's economy. And that economy was also disproportionately serving the wealthiest Americans. So let's talk about that real quick. But what happens when the economy isn't great under Donald Trump? What happens when consumer sentiment is hitting all-time lows? What happens when egg prices continue to skyrocket as the stock market plummets and Donald Trump is putting your family in danger? That's when people get upset. And that's when we need to make sure they know what's happening. Someone who did that was Senator Ruben Gallegos, right here.
You just heard the defense secretary refer to Jeffrey Goldberg, the Atlantic reporter, who Mike Waltz invited into the group chat, right? He was invited by the group and then he sat in there. Then nobody ever looked. He called him a deceitful so-called journalist. He didn't have any answer as to why he was in the group or anything. I mean, what do you make of his response, how he's chosen to answer it? He, of course, is the one who posted those war plans.
First of all, as Secretary of Defense and as a former Army officer, the Secretary of Defense should know better. He needs to take responsibility for what happened under his watch. If I had done any of this as a Marine, I would have clearly been court-martialed. There have been other people that have dealt and done some very serious time because of things of this nature. But the fact that he won't take any leadership, any ownership, and try to get to the bottom of this puts us even in a worse situation. Operational security is extremely important, not because it keeps the reputation of the Secretary of Defense, it's what keeps our armed forces safe. And the fact that they're trained in such a cavalier attitude should really worry everybody that cares about our armed services.
And I want to ask you about something else he said. Obviously, the White House has confirmed these messages, has confirmed that this happened. And he denies that there were any war plans posted. But in fact, that there were, right? Goldberg has the targets and weapons. These were posted by Defense Secretary Hegseth. So the targets and the weapons to be used to hit them, all of that posted by Hegseth. Apparently he's denying that now. It seems that he did just deny that, even though that happened. Senator, just to be clear, Goldberg did not publish that information because The Atlantic felt that it would be inappropriate and wrong. They did not publish it, but it was put into the group.
This is a distraction. This is a distraction that we're talking about Goldberg. What we should be talking about is the fact that, Secretary of Defense was unqualified to begin with, and now he's actually proven himself. This is a mistake that under any other administration would have already made the Secretary of Defense resign. The fact that they're trying, again, treat this as a cavalier attitude, what does it say to our allies? What does it say to our enemies? Now, the Houthis don't necessarily have a very good signal intelligence capabilities or capabilities to hack and track our phones, but they do have allies. They are allied with Iran. They are sometimes allied with other malign actors. They may be able to do that. And the fact that now everyone knows that some of our most key national security advisors are all talking on Signal should really scare us. And the fact that this is happening and you have an utter lack of leadership coming from this administration, from Secretary of Defense, is absolutely offensive.
Your colleague, Republican John Cornyn, Senator, told our Manu Raju that the quote, it sounds like a huge screw up. And then Congressman Don Bacon, another Republican, former Air Force veteran, and a signals intelligence officer, just told Manu this. I wanted to play it for you, Senator.
I will guarantee you 99.99% with confidence, Russia and China are monitoring those two phones. So I just think it's a security violation. And there's no doubt that Russia and China saw this stuff, within hours of the actual attacks on Yemen or the Houthis. So that's wrong.
Obviously, the two phones he appears to be referring to are the security advisor and the vice president. There's obviously CIA was in there. I mean, they were all in there. Defense secretary. But how are your Republican colleagues that you've spoken to? Do they have that outrage? And are they willing, like Senator Cornyn, like Congressman Bacon, to speak out?
Look, we are barely getting back into session, but I'll tell you what we know for a fact. Had this been done by the Biden administration, the Obama administration, Republicans would be losing their minds. And the fact that they're not is that they treat this national security breach as a partisan issue. This is not a partisan issue. If a Democrat had done this, we would be just as outraged. And someone within that chain, someone who's responsible, whether it's the Secretary of Defense or whether it's Walls, someone has to take responsibility, and someone has to resign for this. This is very dangerous. These are national security communications happening. You're talking about targeting, you're talking about weapons, you're talking when they're going to go, when they're going to fly. And the fact that it was done in such a cavalier attitude also just gives you overall bigger problems happening with this administration, that they feel they can just run amok at this point.
Let us seize on this opportunity to talk about how dumb this administration is, the worst in history. There is no comparable administration. There is nothing. This is ridiculous. These are ridiculous people acting in ridiculous ways and putting you in ridiculous amounts of danger doing. So they need to resign or face some legal consequences, or they can resign and face legal consequences. I love that. That's great, because I think Pete is still drinking on the job, or at least while he's texting. I'm sorry, that's not a funny joke, but it's just like, I don't even know how to cope at this point. These people are insane. We gotta call them out. We're doing so on this show every single day, so if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you soon.